last year. But also, now, a bit of tip for both of us, because we both talk a lot. Stop. I'm going to try and let you finish. You're going to try and let me finish as well. So, do you know what I mean? Because we need to do that. Because otherwise it'll be clunky and messy.
I'll turn this off for now.
So what are we doing? When do we just go now?
Can we say cut when we're laughing?
Do you want to carry on now?
Yeah.
Who am I talking, addressing it to, everybody?
Anybody, help us say hello.
Right, okay. Hello everybody, my name's Maria and I'm joined with my lovely friend Wendy. Now, we are two, it'd probably be fair to say, Wendy, we are two middle-aged women, yes, who have been out in the world like the rest of the world for the last few weeks. We've been out there and we've probably struggled, would you agree with me, to avoid two topics like many of you. I'm sure this won't be too difficult for you to guess what they are, but I'll tell you anyway. And that is Brexit, scares the life out of me, and the good old football. So these two subjects are not really in my heart. I don't love talking about them. In fact, every time I've gone to the pub, I've gone to, I don't know, just down the road to the shops, I bump into people, everybody wants to talk about it. And if I'm being really honest, I get quite scared about it. However, I want to face the fear and talk about it anyway, despite my little knowledge. Would you say you have much knowledge in the two areas?
No, quite small.
Good, good. And would you say that we probably represent a lot of middle-aged women out there? So I think we represent a lot of middle-aged men as well, but they might not like to admit that. But it's not about having a go at the boys. We need the boys and we love them. So let's start with talking about the football. Let's go football first, because if we talk about Brexit, it might go on too long. Right, okay. For me, right, I was brought up by an Irish mum and dad. They came to England back in the 60s. And I can remember my dad talking about Aston Villa. I might get shot for that one. Talking about Aston Villa, and he would take my bigger brother down to the matches all the time. And I had a desire to go and join him. I really, really wanted to go down there and watch Villa play. Now, I do recall he swore a lot, and he shouted a lot about football. He'd be quite angry when they lost or when they weren't doing what they wanted to do. And actually, I remember my little brother, he'd cry a lot. And I would often wonder why are they so attached to the ball? There's a lot of people attached to football, and I never really got it because I'm not as attached to it myself. What's your experience growing up about football? Now, that's my early experience. That's all it was. What's yours?
Mine was similar in the fact that I came from a big family, got 5 brothers, so obviously, there was a lot of fans. It was Birmingham City, so Aston Villa was a swear word in our house.
Oh yeah.
My dad took my brothers to the football matches most weeks when they were at home, and to some away games. I don't remember ever wanting to go because I think I just thought football was a lads' things. But like you, I can remember a lot of anger, but also the brother who's the youngest out of all the boys. I've watched him shed many tears, especially when he was a teenager and he was watching England on the TV, you know, and they were losing.
Yeah, well, that word England, that was my connection to English football, Aston Villa. Now, there was another side to the coin in football for me. There was a team called the Republic of Ireland, and I remember Jack Charlton taking over the Republic. I can't remember exactly when that was, but I was well in my 20s, I think. And it was such a passionate time. It was fun. We'd go to the pub and watch it. I had green and white shirts surrounding me. And very often they lost. They were underdogs, but they lost. But it was all about team, fun, having the crack, as the Irish are known for. Although I do know there's a few out there that don't, and I'm not painting, just a pretty picture because I come from that. But I remember it being really nice and warm and fun. Mm. I mean, do you have any experience of that? Because you have a similar background to me. Do you have any?
Well, I remember in Ireland that they, when they were kind of doing quite well in one of the tournaments, that there was a picture of Jack Charlton on the front of the Irish shirts, and then wording on it said, "I will picture Jack Charlton and the Pope," and the wording on it said, "Who's your man with our Jack?" So in other words, that Jack Charlton was larger than the Pope to them then. But yeah, I can see what you're saying. It was about taking part, and it was about, you know, them all being together in the pub, you know, to watch the match, and regardless of whether they won or lost, they'd still have a good time, and they would still have their crack.
That's really interesting. I remember I would go to Galway in the west of Ireland onto holidays, and you would see on the mantelpiece of all the old dears, you would always see JFK and the Pope. And at that time, they introduced a third man, Jack Charlton, an Englishman. Not a problem. He was just a great man that came to help their country get a bit better, get out there in the world, join in and enjoy this wonderful game. That I do remember it really was, and it was wonderful being in those crowds. Maybe I experienced that a little bit more than you. And I think where I'm trying to get to is, where is that in English football? Where is that in English football? Because when I talk to English fans, and I love England. England did so much for my mum and dad. I love this country. I really do. When I was a little girl, I was just used to thank God I'm here and I'm not anywhere else. This is a wonderful place, and that's still in my heart. And my dad's always spoke fondly of it. He always stuck up for England when he'd go to Ireland and they'd have a little bit of a dig. But I never felt that was in English football. No. I always felt that it was a bit. When we switch it to England and follow England, it was all a little bit aggressive and a bit uglier and a bit. We talk about money, but not always. I do remember actually. Was it Bobby Robson? And don't forget, guys out there, this is just us talking now and reflecting. This isn't about us trying to share that we know loads of stuff. But it's funny, really, when we talk about it, it all comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because this is what having conversations about things you know nothing, but bringing it to your awareness is all about. It's amazing what you can find in there when you have a go and you're not frightened. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So, when you've heard people now having these conversations about the football, what have you heard? And you know, take your time to answer that. What have you been hearing?
Well, I noticed on social media while the match was still taking place, even I think in the first half, that there were mainly men writing, paragraph after paragraph on Facebook and social media about how awful the players were doing and how good they were expected to do against a team that was, with a country population less than Coventry, and that apparently some of the players aren't even doing that full time. And I think, again, like you've just brought up, it's about money. These guys are being paid millions of pounds. They should do it. They've got to do it. Whereas, the other guys were just playing for their team. They were probably very grateful and, full of happiness and joy that they'd got so far. And if they'd have lost, it wouldn't have mattered because they'd still got. So the tension with the England players was there to do well, to beat them and to get a result. And it took obviously, with any sport, especially when it's getting that much recognition, there has to be a huge amount of, competition, because without, competition and wanting to be the best, obviously, I suppose most sports, would fall down, but I suppose they've taken the fun out of it and they've taken the seriousness away from it. Whereas, because the fear's there that they've got to produce these results because they're being put on a pedestal and paid this much money, that then allows for that match that was being played to have like 1 million referees saying what the manager had done wrong and that the team didn't have a clue what they were doing. Right,
so on that then, I'm just going to rewind a little bit. You said, they're paid all this money and therefore the pressure's on to perform. So if I said to you, I don't know, I'm going to give you 100 grand to do whatever, I don't know, to run a shop for a few days. How do you feel? If I'm going to give you, you wouldn't normally get 100 grand to go into a shop and you know, run it for a couple of days. Mm. But if I said to you, there's 100 grand to run a shop, right? Mm. But you know, you've got to run it really well. I'm going to take that 100 grand off you. You've got to do everything right. You dare do anything wrong. Mm. You've got to be on the money. You've got to perform. How are you feeling?
Well, initially, obviously, you know, a great amount of fear and under a huge amount of pressure, which I would imagine is then going to take away the spontaneity, yeah, of when a customer comes into that shop, to be able to just be yourself and sell them something, because the normal you, the natural you, isn't coming over. You're going to be all over the customer, desperation, and people can smell that a mile away. So you know, it's like
are you as attractive?
No.
Are you as attractive? Are you as confident when I'm saying this is about the money, Wendy?
No.
And do you think then? See, I don't know about this. Some people might disagree. You know, do you think that the money has a lot to do with this? Really? Do you think? Okay, I've got a better question. Can we have a passionate, beautiful football team with the money?
No.
Do you think
we could be able to, but I think
what do you think then? Okay, so there's something deeper here then, because we've got the money and we've got players that have ability. What are we missing? Just say the money's got to stay there. You know, just say it has to stay there. What are we missing? What ingredients are they missing that would make that work and bring the passion out of them? Because you've got the people, you've got the lads. That, you know, I don't know that much about technical skill, but I'd imagine, I'd have to accept that they're picking players that can play the game, and you've got the money. What is the ingredient, do you think, is missing to bring the passion in and the love and remove the fear?
Well, I think
they've got the coach.
Yeah, I think more so than we know the answer to what ingredients missing, I'd say the ingredients that have been added is things like resentment, because the people that aren't getting paid that sort of money, or the people that are maybe contributing to that money that the players are getting, they're almost resenting them when they don't perform. So they're resenting them giving them that money, and you know, they feel like, you know, it's costing them. But I would imagine, obviously, those guys out there on those fields, you know, when they started off as children, you know, they were full of passion to play football and to get to a point where they were playing football for their country, and to have all these fans, to do something for a living that you absolutely love, must be wonderful. But that's been taken away from them because of the pressure that they're under, because these people are saying, you know, we will give you these big bucks, but we want you to be the best.
Right, I'm with you. Okay, there's a part of this that we haven't actually tapped into, and it's probably the only part that you and I could qualify for. I don't think we'd qualify to run around the pitch, although we might on a good day. We don't qualify to coach them, although I think you and I would have a good go at that. We don't qualify to pay them the wages, but we do qualify to stand in the stand and support them. Now, I can't change the player. I can't change the coach. I'm powerless over these things. I can't go to, is it FIFA or whatever, whoever deals with the whole thing. I can't go to them and say, let's remove the money. I have not got the power. So I always like to let's not look at what I can't do. What can I do as someone who wants to see passion? I want to meet a man that comes in and as, you know, the football did this today, it was this, I learnt that, I did that. Now let's have tea. I don't want to meet a man that just goes, those tossers, those this, those that, it was a load of rubbish, who's negative, who brings my night down and then I can't do what I want to do. So, as a supporter, because I'm a supporter distantly, but I'm also a supporter of people that I interact with every day. I want people to be happy. So what can supporters do? What can they do to contribute to this change, to almost create collective consciousness? Now, collective consciousness is just, for anyone that's not familiar with it, it's if you put a load of people in a room who have the same goal, full of passion, want to do good, the energy will breed. It'll be beautiful. I never feel that when I'm watching some English football fans. I don't feel that. When I watch the Irish football fans, I feel it. So what could we do to start moving this forward to passion and from a place of love and not from a place of fear?
Stand amongst the crowd and love the team.
Do you think we should have more women in the stand?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of male ego out there in the stand. That's really, honestly, please don't hate me for that. The male is different. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't expecting that answer, but how could we influence the fans to actually detach from the negativity and the fear that they've become very comfortable with? Because that's what they are. They've not known anything else for a long, long time. And you and I know that when you get in your comfort zone, even if it isn't, positive, you'd rather stay in the fear, in the what you know. Everyone has got used to just complaining about English football. I join in myself, and I'm probably one of the more positive people in the world who wants to spread the love.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I suppose really what the supporters and the fans should do is just do that. Be supportive, support them, and be fans of them, look up to them. And if they don't win a game, then never mind, you tried your best, you played well, or actually you played really bad, but the other team played really well, and you've lost. That's what they're supposed to do, support them, not be against them.
Can you really love someone if all you ever do is point the finger?
No. No, I don't think so.
How do you turn that round, Wendy? How do you love something when all you've done is point the finger? What do you need to do?
Look at yourself.
Football fans need to start looking at themselves. Stop pointing the finger at the footballer, the coach, the people that pay the money. Stop backing up the media. Stop being sheep. The headline is negative, so let's all sit on the negative fence and be miserable. Why don't we start? Somebody said to me once, if you've got 100 people in front of you, and, 96 are going that way and 4 are going that way, follow the 4. Because the awareness of the supporters is on its arse, isn't it? For want of a better expression.
Yeah.
So, what can we do? There's you and I sitting
you
here.
and I?
How do we reach out? What can we do to take this forward?
Tell people to, have a look at themselves. Get rid of their demons.
I think the bottom line is, in any situation, wherever you're looking at, you're looking in the mirror when you're angry. You're looking in the mirror, and you do. And I think I do think that is a good place to start. You and I ain't going to sort out the next step on that. But what have you thought about this conversation, Wendy?
I think it's been good. There's been no anger there. It's made me think about growing up and what football meant to my family and what it meant to me. But it has brought up a bit of a something that I'm thinking about, because obviously Birmingham City, from decades that I remember, were never as good as Aston Villa. And I always used to, when I stuck up for Birmingham City, used to say, yeah, but the Blues are are better fans because it's easier to support a team that are always winning. You've got to have good fans that go there week after week, travel to different places of the UK to watch their team lose week after week after week and still adore them.
You know what? You've knocked the nail on the head there, my darling. You really have, because let's just move on to Aston Villa for a minute. Look, I remember the days when they were winning. I do, because I was surrounded by it, and it was nice, and the Peter With days, and Gary Shaw and all of that sort of stuff. And I like the days when Paul McGrath came along as well, but he was a bit of a lad. And I thought he was great. And those were better days. They were up the top of the division there, and Graham Taylor come along and all of that. And really, I don't think it's been up to much since then, really. I think it's, you know, they've hung on by the, you know, in the Premiership, but they've been dropping, and now they're going down. And just as you said, that happened to Blues. And I think you're right. And I come from a Villa family, but I think you're absolutely right. The Blues, they've stuck with them, and it hasn't been all about pointing the finger. I'm sure there's a bit of it, but it didn't feel that was the majority. With Aston Villa now, it's going the way of the England. It's breeding this negativity. The Villa fans are all, that coach is rubbish, this, and they're doing exactly the same as the England fans. Exactly the same. And I suppose it would be lovely to go back to Birmingham City when it was tough, and it still is for Birmingham City. I don't know what's going on there now, but to go back and say, I can have a bottle of whatever you're using, and I'll sell it to the Villa fans. Yeah. You know, can I have a bottle of that, and I'll sell it to the Villa fans. And we need to find out what the difference is, what's in that bottle.
And I think a lot of it's expectations, isn't it? You know, if you're not expecting your team to win every week, if you're actually expecting them to lose, and they do win and they do play well, then obviously people come away with a good feeling because they do, you know, they do better than what they'd expected them to do. Whereas if your expectations are very high, and then you feel like you're always getting let down, then, you know, maybe that's why they get angry and start pointing the finger.
But, you know, nobody stays at the top forever.
No. Otherwise there'd be no league tables, would there?
No, nobody stays. It's always going to be knocked off the top. So is there something in that if you're knocked off the top, that's when you've got to watch it. It's easy to be happy and good when you're at the top of your game on a good day. Why can we not be happy and good when we're not at the top of our game, when we've been knocked off a little bit? Because I've found in my life, I can be happy if I choose to be, despite whatever my problems are. You know, and you know, this is personal, this is about me when I talk like that, and you can share the same, and we've just had a conversation about football, but the same applies. You know, the fans can be happy if they choose to be, and that what will if they all become happy, if I gave them all a happy pill now, what do you think that would do to the people playing on the pitch?
Well, it would support them, wouldn't it? Make them feel happy, and it would ease the pressure. So they would probably, you know, because all they'd be concentrating on is kicking that football and doing the next right thing and trying to get it up to the goal so somebody can pass it to somebody else who'll get it in the goal. But they're, you know, the fear and the thoughts that must be there, you know, it's probably kicking that football and getting it in the right position. It's probably, you know, one of the last thoughts on their mind, because they're not concentrating on the game, because there's so much pressure on them, and they don't feel supported by the fans, no matter how many of them are there. You
know, it's interesting. When I was a little girl, Wendy, and I was full of fear, and I'd got it into my head that my mum and dad were always pointing the finger. There was no love there, not from my mum and dad's perspective. In my head, I wasn't able to receive love because of the fear. I was full of this fear. Therefore, I did the wrong thing. I didn't perform. I didn't do as well as I should have done, because I had no faith and love inside of me to go and do it, because I always felt the audience, those around me, were shouting and saying, "You're stupid, you're no good, you're no good." Now, you've got 11 footballers on the pitch, and they've got the paper telling them they're no good, or they've got to win, they're under pressure. I think they feel like that little girl that I've just talked about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So it needs to come from a place of love. I don't know what if we got a load of rowdy footballers out there now, and had football fans, and try to say we need to come from a place of love, I think we'd have a bit of a difficulty trying to get that through. Yeah. But you know something, this conversation's been wonderful. I've really enjoyed it, and I think, it's there now, and it might go here. You never know. We might be able to help with the revolution and try and add some, bring the love back to the game.
Well, John Lennon sang, didn't he? All you need is love.
All you need is love. All you need. And you know something, actually, when I used to hear that years ago, I used to think, you know, everyone said he was one of the greatest songwriters ever, himself and McCartney, and I used to think, what are you on about? Anyone could write that. All you need is love. I don't see it like that today. I see it as, it isn't just the words, it's the action that you need to put behind. So that's why you need to put your arms around those people that are suffering, even if they don't deserve it. Put your arms around those people that deserve it least. Somebody taught me that once.
Yeah.
And I think it's the way forward. Sounds like a dodgy yogurt commercial, doesn't it? Anyway, so we've done the football. What do you think about that? We all right? We all good to move on to the next subject? Okay. So the next subject I'm scared to death about, really scared. Brexit. Now, I know very little about the politics and the stuff that's been, you know, put in the papers and on the media as to this is why you should be in and this was why you should be out. And I just want to share quickly with you my experience, and it'd be really good to hear yours. I was doing the okey cokey right up to the ballot box. So the time I put my X in the box, I was in, out, shaking all about. And before I got to the ballot box, my experience was I'd be with a group of people that were telling me, oh, you got to be in for this reason, that reason, and every other reason. And I'd be sitting there going, oh, right, yeah, probably should be in then. Okay, I'll take that on. Then I'd go to the other side, and they'd be saying, you need to be out for this reason. And I'd be thinking, oh, maybe they're right. Yeah, I think I better go out. Then I'd bumped into a load of women, you know, sisters, that are saying, Emmeline Pankhurst, she died so we could vote. You know, how dare you not vote? You have to. And I thought, oh, all right then, I'll do it. I'll make sure I vote. I'll make sure I turn up and put my X in the spot. So I took everybody's thinking. I put it all in here. Got into a right mess. Went along. And when I got there, I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm in out or what, or whether I should be here. I put an X somewhere. I don't even know which bit I put the X in. And then I walked away and thought, what was that all about? What on earth have I just done? I've just contributed to this big thing out there in our world, and I have no idea why I did it. I think I'm quite brave admitting this, but I'm just being really honest with you. And then I thought, I've got to look at this. It made me feel ever so uncomfortable. I thought, I've just been very dishonest. In, out, Emmeline Pankhurst. What do you think, Maria? What do you really, really think? And when I had a look at it, I thought, I didn't want to vote. All respect to Emmeline and sisters, but I really didn't. I didn't read enough. I read bits. I didn't understand it. I didn't want to understand it. I didn't want to be asked. Please, I don't have the knowledge. And if I had my time again, I wouldn't. If I'm honestly, I just wouldn't. I would have stuck to what Maria really believed, and that was my true belief. I've been scared in my life to look at what I really think, because I thought everybody would tell me off. And I'm getting less scared, being able to share what's really going on in here. And I wonder how many other people felt in that position and were scared to say. I don't know, that's just me, just to set the ball rolling and kick the conversation off. What about yourself? What's your experience?
Well, I think that like a lot of people, sometimes we don't have a great opinion of ourselves and a great opinion of our views, so therefore we think
Absolutely.
that if we have somebody that we aspire to or we look up to, when they say something, we're too frightened of our own opinion to be able to say, well, actually, I don't agree with that. I don't like that piece of music. I prefer this type of music. Or, you know, I don't like that politician. I like this politician. Or I don't drink in that bar. I prefer this type of bar. We're all too frightened to stand up. And I think that's why, you know, a lot of people flock like sheep, because they go with the, you know, not with the minority. But I also think that when you walk on your own, you walk short, and when you walk together with people, you walk long. and that was my reason for voting to stay in. But like I said, you know, I don't have enough knowledge or information to look at the political side of it. I just done it, you know, purely for that. I wasn't unduly, you know, sort of bothered or full of fear about the outcome, because at the end of the day, we will survive and we will get on with it. And it hadn't made any changes on the day that it happened to my life, and nor has it each day since. What tomorrow will bring, I don't know.
And that's exactly where I was. I wasn't actually that attached to the outcome, but because everybody was talking about it, I felt I wasn't part of, and I felt the need to be part of and to be able to express myself. I did feel that need, and I feel that need in lots of things, and that's why I did that exercise of really trying to find my truth. And I think you've just, again, God bless you, you've knocked the nail on the head. You know, we can still live here, do what we do, going back to what we were talking about in the football, be happy and not have to be consumed in this negativity that the media is trying to push on us. Almost, it nearly won with me. God bless you, Wendy. You say you're a bit more stable than I am in that respect, because I am affected. I get affected by what's outside of me. I think a lot of people do. I think they're unaware of it. I think I'm affected because I work on my awareness, and I have a great time working on that awareness. A lot of people out there are a little bit on, no disrespect to them, because I've always been on this, and the majority of us can be, are just on autopilot, just going with it. And that's why we can't always contribute our truth. Do you see what I mean? How would it be if we all really tapped in to what we really thought? What do you think? What difference would that make?
Well, I don't think there'd be, you know, such masses of just like, you know, two minorities really, or one minority and one. I think there would be, you know, more different sort of groups with different people with lots of different things, instead of everybody just being herded into the one. You know, there's lots of people like to stand up on a soapbox and have their opinions heard, because they are the people who do think that they have opinions. But at the end of the day, there's not enough people getting up on enough different soapboxes. It's all one thing, or it's against that thing. There's no variation. Well, because people are frightened to go with the minority.
Right. So on that point then, of soapbox, I don't know about you, but I remember when, again, going back, you know, young teenagers, whatever, I knew every name of the cabinet that was in. We were talking about this earlier. I knew every hairstyle. We knew their spitting image characters. And they seemed kind of real people. I identified with them, even if I didn't like them and didn't really, I don't know, I seemed to understand more. I seemed to connect. I seemed to not be as fearful about my opinion. I was a bit more interested in it. And today, I just see all this noise. I just see people talking, and it doesn't sound very sincere. Everyone, again, it seems to come from a place of fear, a place of negativity, them and us. You know, what's changed in the world? What is it that I've just grown up, and that's what happens as you become an adult and you don't see it like a child? Or do you think this media and this stuff that's just so vast out there is making a bit of a fool of us all, and taking us away from reality and what's important? What do you think about that, Wendy?
Well, I think everybody's searching, aren't they, permanently? Everybody's searching for that one thing, whether it's the Prime Minister or, you know, whether it's, you know, somebody that's just sweeping the roads. We're all after the same thing. And that's,
what is that thing?
That's peace of mind. And I think, you know, money and status and competition and fear and, you know, lack of love and the old-fashioned things, is what's brought it on. It's what's brought that fear on, and that it's like it's a race. We've got to have the biggest and we've got to have the best to make us look good, to make us feel better.
Right. So
and all it does is make everybody miserable and want more.
Exactly. So we've just had 2 conversations on 2 very different topics. We've had a conversation about Brexit and we've had a conversation about football, and I'm sure everybody would agree that you and I know very little about both. We've had a conversation, and yet we have come right back to the same thing. Are we coming from a place of fear, or are we coming from a place of love? Yeah? And from what you've said, you've helped me with my thought process, is that in both situations, there's a lot more fear driving the whole thing than love.
I think Great Britain's full of fear.
Full of fear. And the world probably is a fearful place at the moment, getting more fearful. It's never been 100% love. That's the human experience. As human beings, it is about walking the fearful road, trying to find the love that we so desperately, desperately want from the day that we enter the planet as in human form. Would you agree? And through the experiences of Brexit and football, I think they scream absolute volumes that, the road less travelled isn't the road we're on. Scott Peck wrote a wonderful book, The Road Less Travelled, and basically that was the love road. And most of us are walking the fear road. And it's where the masses are. How do we get the masses over here? Now, little me can't do that on my own, and little you can't do that on your own.
But we can start.
But together, we can try to love the inner circle that's around us. If I can get a message out there to anybody that would be listening, have a go at loving and caring and being bothered about the people that you bump into today. How are you going to add value to others? Not about what you're going to get.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good message.
Wouldn't that be a beautiful message? And I think that's what we have to start. It's not about, I need to know all about Brexit, I need to know all about football, I need all this knowledge, I need to listen to all the negativity. It's about what can I do in my back garden today that would, will spread the love, spread positive energy. And that's where I come from today, myself. It's about doing that. And I know you do, because we know each other. And we need to start somewhere to help people over to walk the road less travelled. Because you know something, I've had 7-8 years of trying to do this, and it's been a beautiful place. It's hard work, but it's fruitful and rewarding. It's frustrating, but anything that's worth having doesn't come easy, does it?
No.
And I think football fans out there, and every person out there, we're all affected by what our country is doing. Let's look in our own back garden. It's been a pleasure. It's been lovely, Wendy. Well done.
Thank you.